I guess we can start off with the perennial first question. Tell us a little about yourself and I guess really more your artistic journey.
Sure.
Give us the highlights.
So yeah, I'm Ryan Zimmerman. I'm a furniture maker of sorts. Furniture is in the past decade, furniture has been my main squeeze, but kind of ended up there haphazardly. I started studying graphic design in undergrad and, bounced around school a little bit, took some time off, ended up at Edinburgh University studying graphic design, and a couple years in, I took a woodworking elective as per recommendation from another professor, and I realized I love this new thing, and I don't really love this other thing as much. So, the elective class became a minor, then a double major, then I dropped graphic design altogether. And
okay,
but yeah, it's just interesting. I find like graphic design and all those kind of practices on computers and all that kind of more digital interfacing creeps its way into my practice in different ways. So yeah, kind of connecting dots later on.
Okay,
so wasn't a complete waste.
That's really interesting. How would you say that you're because like design is primarily, you're not that old, design is primarily done with computers and probably has been since you've been working with it. How does that affect your woodworking though?
Digitally. Ideating, I find it'll sometimes, like, I love sketching.
Mm-hmm.
I find I'm a perfectionist, and everything, I'm a hoarder of some certain regards as well. So like when I start sketching, like I don't have the looseness that I envy people who are able to sketch and just doodle and let something, just be what it is. Right. So if I sketch and want to build off it, I'll kind of want to refine it rather than just move on and keep ideating off an idea. So like sketching analog in a sketchbook, it's just not as I don't find it as free and carefree as I wish it was. Yeah. Where digitally, like, I can, if I'm working two-dimensionally, I'm comfortable in Illustrator and Photoshop and those kind of things, so I can kind of work with objects and shapes two-dimensionally there. But in the past 5 years, I've gotten pretty, fluent in a couple different modeling software. So I like one in particular is Rhinoceros, and I use that to model surfaces and full forms all together, and it allows me to fully, I can create an object and look in all from all angles rather than I could draw that, but I don't have the speed or undo isn't a feature other than with an eraser
unless you ideate and draw each individual
and it's very easy for me to I draw this and then I can just drag another one and edit both of them, so it's easier for me to kind of see iterations in real time in that kind of programs, but I don't use it daily. It depends on what the piece is, depending on what I'm thinking about making. So
that's really interesting. I think you're the first artist I've spoken to who has said that they preferred working, like ideating and working digitally.
I want to go back. Prefer, I don't know if I love the word prefer.
Okay.
They both have their place. Sketching is I can do it anywhere.
Right.
I can work on my computer anywhere as long as I've got power and Wi-Fi if I need it, but I don't feel as restricted digitally as I do with pen and paper or sketchbook, whatever. And that may change as this conversation. Yeah, maybe.
No,
I might backpedal a little bit, but no, they both have their place. But digitally, I find that I'm able to kind of work in a way that's different than pen and papers.
Yeah. So I'd like to circle back a little bit to the, you mentioned how you started your artistic journey, I suppose, by going to school for graphic design. And you ended up changing, you took a woodworking elective and decided you liked that. Why? Why did woodworking speak to you as opposed to graphic design or printmaking?
It was a few different things that kind of just, all lined up at one time. So I was at Edinburgh, and I was in this 3D design class, which is just like a foundations course. And the guy teaching the class is Jim Parlin. He at the time was the chair of the art department there and sculptor. And towards the end of the semester, he just pulled me aside, and he had this one-on-one. He was like, your attention to detail, your craft with whatever we were folding paper, like sculpting foam or whatever this remedial exercises were. He noticed that I had an attention to my detail in working with my hands, and he was like, graphic design's cool if you like it, but I'm paraphrasing, but he's like, graphic design's cool, but he's like, I think your skill set might be better suited if you dabble. He was just thinking pick up a minor or something,
right?
And he lists, he's like woodworking, sculpture, whatever. He's a sculptor, so I think he was like kind of hoping I may have went that way. But my dad is a craftsman of sorts, jack of all trades. He's always been a woodworker. So that was always, within my, my grasp growing up. So that kind of made sense to me. So yeah, all those things kind of just happened, and I realized that might be fun, and it was. And it's since then I've got my BFA in it. I ended up getting my master's in furniture design as well. So it's become I'm all in at this point,
Yeah, awesome. Yeah. Awesome. So I guess I'd like to talk a little bit about the piece that you currently have an award-winning piece on display at the Erie Art Museum as part of the 99th annual Nicole and Harry Martin Spring Show. And it's a beautiful bench called Embrace. And I did my research a little bit. I read your statement, and I know that you play with the idea that furniture should be designed first for utility, and you seem to try to circumvent that a little bit, and you do place an emphasis on the aesthetics of it. And I haven't, of course, sat on the bench. Sure. That's not a sitting piece. Where do you think you try to fall on the line between utility and aesthetic object with your woodworking, and what do you enjoy designing more?
What do I enjoy designing more?
Like more aesthetically?
Well, yeah, like the what you're talking about, that statement, it maybe it wasn't phrased perfectly, but it was critiquing my own like stance and kind of perspective of furniture. There's furniture is such a diverse world, and there's strictly functional furniture. There's very sculptural furniture. So I'm not by any means implying that I'm breaking ground on I'm not saying screw function. And right. I'm the first one that said that. No, not by no means. No. In my at the time that I made that, I've been making furniture in school and outside of school for like 6 years, and had been making chairs, desks, cabinets, like tables, utilitarian things that had interesting features, but they were mainly focused on how a user interacts with it.
Right.
And I was in my first year in grad school, and I was interested in kind of pushing myself outside of comfort and maybe questioning my own hierarchy of what comes first, or what's more important, or does it even matter? Is something comfortable? There's a whole world of chairs that chairs that are designed for comfort, chairs that are designed just for utility and for short sits. So it was kind of me just inviting this new conversation of what was important in design for me. And I was in grad school, so I was like, whatever, I should be free and not feel like I'm, I need to make chair. I need to measure the body. I need to make the most comfortable thing for the person. It's a comfortable bench by all means. No. But
that was my next question.
Yeah, the semester before the semester I made the bench, I had made these tables that were implied volumes, so they were able to hold things, but they weren't your typical like sturdy surface.
Right.
And it was me, giving myself the green light to make a table that could hold a thing, could function as a table, but could also just be a beautiful object and be itself.
Yeah. What do you prefer? Yeah, working with very functional, like designing very functional furniture and having to work within the parameters of how a user would interact, or do you enjoy making, the wacky sculptural, aesthetic objects?
Looking back now in like my graduate career, I started making tables and then benches that were where I was kind of putting down a little bit of the emphasis on function, not fully, but inviting conversations about just form and design. And as my time in grad school went, insert crazy pandemic, and then it kind of wrapped up where my thesis was all actually work that was at the art museum a month before this show opened, but it was
by the lake.
It was all sculptural work, conceptual. My MFA in furniture design, my thesis show had no furniture really, just one cabinet that would held very specific objects. So it was this interesting kind of departure, and now looking back, I've made a lot of furniture, made a lot of things that users use, and I've made a lot of things that were reflective for me and hopefully for other people to see. So yeah, which one do I prefer more? It's a cop out, but they're both. I enjoy them both.
Yeah.
And I feel like I keep saying things that are freeing, but that was a lot of my study, was like allowing myself to like, okay, get to a certain level and then learning all this stuff, then being able to break those rules, and then get to another checkpoint and then break those rules again, and not even break the rules, but just be free to like go against the grain. But that's a shitty pun. but yeah, just have the freedom to kind of play and explore new ground. So yeah, I guess conclusion of all of that would be, I don't prefer one or the other, but I take comfort knowing that I can do both, and both are exciting. Yeah. I currently am working for a chair factory in Jamestown, New York, as a sample maker. So I'm making more furniture than I've ever made in my life. Like I make small runs and I make custom work for the client, but I'm making a couple chairs a week, tables, all this stuff. So I love it. Yeah. I love doing it. But, I still have ideas that I want to like explore more of my past and how I can kind of bring that into marry it with material and make some interesting piece that kind of, talks about whatever.
Yeah. Actually,
so yeah.
I'm kind of curious. How long does it take you to, let's say, make a table or a chair from design, like conception to like through the process to your finished product? Like one piece.
It varies.
Yeah.
It varies on like, if I'm designing something myself, and it's my design, it depends on how crazy I want to be with the piece, how adventurous. If it's a commission for someone that they have specific parameters, that can influence how quick something is, because if they have certain needs that a piece needs to be, it can be pretty quick. I've made things for people that I'm done in a few days to a week. I've done stuff, and the spectrum is skewed, because I could say, I've made things really quick for people, but then also I've been in school and like dragged my feet and had the freedom to like, that bench was, the better part of a semester, and it like the piece is great. I'm happy with it, but it doesn't like people see this shaped thing, they don't know like the exploration, but also the experimentation that went before I even like started gluing up boards to carve. Just to, I had to make models, I had to do finish samples, I had to, so there's a lot of little things that kind of testing that went on before I even started building the actual piece. So, the spectrum skewed. I've made quick things for people, and I've made stuff that took a couple months. But I mean, if I were to make that bench again or like a different version of it, it would be much quicker because you
wouldn't have to go through all the hoops of grad school and
workshop. But even if I like take schooling out of it, like making the first your first thing or first time making a new design, will take longer because you're gonna be in the middle of the design and build. You're gonna start once you start playing with material, you're gonna be like, you know what, this didn't really work. Translate from the paper. I need to scrap this piece, and sure that might add a couple days to your build time, but if I were making that same chair, my 20th time, I'll have it down to a science. I'll have jigs made. I'll have so like the production side of it will be kind of nailed down after that first one. So
well, I think we're at the end of the questions I had prepared. So Ryan, why don't you tell us where we can find you, like on socials and where you work? I'm currently working as a sample maker at a place called Fancher Chair. It's in Faulkner, New York, right outside of Jamestown. My website and my Instagram handle are both ryanz.studio. So awesome.
The website is less up to date.
All right. Well, make sure you check the
Instagram.
Check the Instagram. Thank you for sitting with me,
Ryan.
Ryan.
Thanks for having me.
So it's a pleasure. All right. And I'm Todd with the Erie Art Museum, and this was another Artist Talk.